Yeah, hello. I brought my son to a playground kind of a place, and while I'm waiting for him, there are all these kinds of things you climb. I'm too big for this. Well, I'm not too big, but it would stretch a lot. And yeah, I'm a bit sick too. But I thought I'm going to do lambda calculus, right? Isn't I'm going to do lambda calculus with a pen and paper because that's great. Hey, see. The book, I really wanted to, cover a couple of things. The book from Greg Michaelson about lambda calculus, it's really wonderful. And it's a very, what's the word, pedagogical, in the sense that, for example, the Haskell programming book, the big one from 2014, 16, from Chris Allen and Julie Moronuki. It's a great book, really. But like the first chapter is about lambda calculus, and I remember when I was reading it, it starts great, and then as soon as you get all of these kinds of, I don't know, lambda x, y, blah blah blah, lambda, and then applied to something, it went really over my head. And the point was because I'm kind of trying to look at how, mentally, when I don't understand something, how the thing evolves, the thing. I mean, like you learn something, and then suddenly there's a click, you don't get it anymore. It's almost like there is a giant leap that you just missed somehow. You missed a leap. And now you're in the land of where suddenly you don't understand anyone who's saying. Like, it's like you understand everyone and it's all fine. And then you just, you turn around and everybody speaks, gibberish. So that's what actually happened to me. And then I went to read again, and I read again. Wow! Bravo! He just climbed a big wall. Wow! Let's see it. Wow! Wow, he's climbing. A ja ću rješavati zadatke. So, yeah, I wanted to just cover a couple of these, Yeah, so Greg takes a really great approach. Of course, he wrote a whole book, so it's not really, I'm not trying to, criticize the Haskell programming book that's really not what I'm trying. And anyway, it was nice that I actually did. I kind of, it's great that he even says it. He even says it in the chapter. Yeah, he says it in the Lambda. He says all you need is Lambda, and he writes that's not fair. He and they write that you might want to skip this chapter, right? But don't. Don't, yeah, because it's very important. Now, okay, the chapter may have been too short, but that's not really the fault. Otherwise, they could have written actually two books, one on just Lambda. And I've noticed that with also when I would do, NixOS, when I would do Nix check it out. When I would do Nix expressions, that you watch all these. Okay, we are used to read from left to right, right? So we read from left to right. For example, I play guitar and I can read notes. So when we read notes, we kind of read notes, but it's more like a graph thing, right? There is the X and the Y. And the X is the amplitude of the note, and the Y is the time. Basically, so these are the, right? 1, 2, 3, right? So if I have this, so this is a one beat, like this one beat, and that's two beats. So that's, time. And this is amplitude, or I don't know, whatever. Amplitude in the sense of the height of the tone. So the pitch, right? That's the pitch of the tone. How high is the tone, right? Do, 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 do. And that's the time when the tone is played. So I'm kind of used to reading this in two-dimensional kind of a way. And also we sometimes, read backwards, and you can read backwards, of course, and there are all of these, canons and stuff, like polyphonic stuff, where like you have a theme here, let's say that's a theme like da da da, and then there is another theme, almost like translated, couple of tones below, that it's the same thing. It's almost like it's reflection of this theme. And you have more, let's say 5 or 6 reflections of the same theme. So there are all of these kind of computational like things. But okay, but when we read code, it reminds me somehow of this, because it's well, it's not like a graph, but in functional code you have all of this. Okay, if I apply, wait, I need to use more actually. So like even when he starts with the lambda x dot x, right? So even the thing with lambdas with functional programming is that everything is a function. It's not just about what's pure, what's impure, and all of that. Because everything is a function. Like what you do when you just have functions that take other functions. So you have a function that can only take a single argument, right? So let's say this, and Greg starts with this. Of course, many books. I mean, usually you start with this. So this is the so-called identity function, right? And I guess it's the basic idea what you could have. It's like whatever I give you, you give back to me, right? Like if I give you a 1, you give me back a 1. If I give you a 2, you give me back a 2. Or is it like, well, let's say you are in a REPL of sorts, and you write a 2 on the computer screen, and the computer outputs 2. So right, it's kind of like that. It's just giving back to you whatever you give. So, and you can give, so I think in standard ML, is that like star A? I don't know, whatever it's called. I think it's called like the A type. Yeah, in the sense that this type is, what would be the word? I think universally polymorphic or something like that, right? Because whatever you give it, it will return. But beyond this, what I really wanted to show, and I also actually wanted to practice, right? What if you apply the identity function to itself? Right. So the thing is, when I was talking about the way this thing moves, we have a function. Yeah, this is also what I need to practice. So this is the function, and this is the body of the function with an argument x. And this is the function expression with the x. And this whole function is applied to this function, right? Now, we're going to substitute. So this is the same as, let's say we did here. Look at this. We have lambda x dot x, we have 2. So 2 goes, right? 2 goes inside here, right? And then it gets substituted here, right? Goes here and here. That's also probably a confusing part, because you're not sure, like, how would you put this in words? It goes first here, or is it like going at the same time? So like, and then you get, and this of course you don't need anymore, and you get a 2. So 2 applied, the identity applied to 2 is 2, right? And of course you can give it a name, right? You can write like id is lambda x dot x, and then you can do id 2, and then it will give you 2. I forgot how you write this in Haskell. In standard ML would be like val val id, and then you would do fn of x, and then the quality sign in this, and then x. You would do this, and then you could call it. But the thing about when you try to do this in SML or any other, I mean, you can do lambda expressions in Nix also. In Nix, you would do like x like this and just this, right? You could do it just like this, and then you can apply it to, let's say, 2. Or Python, you know, and like many languages now have lambdas. So the thing about it is, because when you do it with pen and paper, you kind of practice substitutions. So like this thing goes inside of, this thing goes instead of x, and then we get the x, and we get the x again. I guess you don't see much here, but if you did this, yeah, if I apply the id to id, if I applied the id to id in a REPL, I think it wouldn't work. I tried this with the standard ML, and it wouldn't work because it asked me to give it an argument. So it would only work if I did something like this. Id of 2, and then I would get 2. So no matter how many identities I applied on top of each other, but I had to apply them to like something, and then I would get that back. So it needs to have some sort of result. So what's really great when you do it like this is that you don't have to really work with some values, right? But you can actually practice the substitutions, and you can practice how the thing moves. Now what he does, was really great, when he does after the identity function, he goes, what does he do? He does, what Graham Hutton did in his video on, I think, Lambda calculus. Yeah. People usually show this, and then they show bools already at the beginning. And bools, it's kind of a nested function application that only takes one of the arguments. So that's how you define true, right? You define true like lambda x dot, and then lambda y dot, and then the body is x. So it like takes the first one and ignores the second. So if you give it like, let's say 1 and 2, it will just take 1, the x, right? And the false you define the same way, but just you put the y. But that's too soon. You know, this is almost clear to understand because of the way I guess we understand true and false, right? X and y, and you choose the first, and false is x and y, and you choose. But you're not really practicing the way the thing moves. So how does the thing move? He goes and check this out. So he takes the self-applying function, which is the s, and then ss. So I cannot even do this in a REPL because it says it's circulatory, and this is like almost like the base case of how you start introducing recursion. I was breaking my head trying to understand how just the basic recursive call works in a simple factorial-like program, and I think this is much better. And Graham Hutton used a similar example actually with a loop. So in the Lambda calculus video, he used loop, which he basically didn't like explain what it means. Like he didn't really define loop, but he wrote loop. So it's interesting kind of. This is the basic sort of recursive kind of thing that never terminates, right? So this thing goes here, this thing goes here. So if this, I'm not sure how he said this actually. I guess you could say like if this is true, then if this is true, then this is true. If this is true, then this is true. I guess you could do it like that. I just remembered the Russell paradox, right? This thing is false. No, the next thing, the other side of the paper is true, and the other side of the paper is false. I guess that's also kind of a never. That would be interesting actually, but I can't do it now with ChatGPT. I would now run with. I have to ask actually the Chat GPT, right? It's like you have a like kind of a piece of paper, right? And you write just the other side is false, and then if you go behind, right, it says the other side is true. So it's kind of, I just actually wonder how would I actually write that with lambdas? That would be nice. So yeah, maybe it's something like this. We have a loop that goes around. But look at this. Lambda s, ss. So it has two arguments which are the same. So how do we test this function, right? So let's try this. Lambda s dot ss, and we're going to apply it to lambda s dot ss. So this is kind of, I guess, the same as this, but now we're applying this to this lambda s dot s. And now what do we do? Like, you have to substitute this entire thing with the s. Hey, we have to substitute this entire thing with the s thing here, and we do it like, I guess we go. Wait, I guess we do it like this. You see, I still don't know. Lambda s, and then, is it like this? Lambda s dot ss s. No, I think that's wrong actually. I've just put this here, but I had to delete this one. Right, so yes, it's wrong. Well, no, actually, yeah. I take this entire thing and I plug it in here, right? I plug it in here, and instead of this also. So I had to remove this, and it will be here. So we will have now lambda s dot s, and this will be also in parentheses, and here with s. It will be applied to s. I guess you could write that lambda s dot ss s. What do we do now? Yes, sir. You see, I already forgot. I was like really, happy showing all of this. I will have to practice it again. I'm not sure actually, but I do. You see, like when you read this, it makes sense. Okay, it will be applied to itself. You plug it in, and then somehow it plugs to itself all the time, and you constantly get lambda s ss, lambda s ss. Maybe it's just like lambda s ss, and then again lambda s ss. Yeah, you see, not a good explanation, right? And then he does lambda s ss. So now that's very pedagogical. He applies the thing what he introduced so far. He applies it to itself. That sounded weird, but he just applies. He just takes whatever he introduced, which was identity and self-application, and then he applies the self-application to the identity. And what do you do here now? You see, I have to run through this again. I thought, you see, I was practicing this at home, and I came now here, and I thought I will run this through. But it's kind of, wait, we have to substitute this with something. And this part, SS, is confusing me a bit. And which S do I substitute, right? Yeah, I'm not sure. And then after this, he does the... so first he does the id, right? First he does the identity, which is lambda x dot x, right? Then he does the self-apply, which is lambda s dot ss. And then he does the apply, which will really come in handy once you start doing this, functors and list definitions and all those kinds of things, monads even, where you have the confusing part like FA and then inside FA. So it's like, because it's a higher order function that will take a function and do something with it. So apply would be lambda f dot lambda a dot f a. Isn't this amazing? Like, you wouldn't... It's amazing. And then he applies. Then he uses the apply to practice self-apply and identity. So he does apply, self-apply, identity. Because now with apply, you can do stuff like apply identity for. And then you do apply. And now we should like, look, I could try this. Now we have to do, okay, lambda f, lambda a dot fa, right? That's the first. The identity is lambda x dot x. And then we have a for. So now we have to, what do we have to do? So first we do this, actually. First we do this. So lambda f is a function, lambda, okay, this is a function expression, and this is the body of this function. Si se jako igrao?
Da.
Ti je bilo lijepo?
Da.
Hoćeš još nešto? Jesi ga pitao kako se zove?
Zove se kako?
Kako si ga pitao? Si pitao koliko ima godina?
On je sad išao papa.
A išao je papa?
Da.
A njih nema više.
Da.
O, sad si sam. Hoćeš ići gore? Ćeš se spustiti ni s tobogan ovaj veliki da te vidim.
Onda onako zagrlim tatu.
A i onda ćemo se zagrliti. Okay, I'll just do this a bit and then I have to hug my son. Yeah. All right. I'll just try to do this short. Okay, so lambda f, right, as embodied has another function, lambda a, that as an argument has the application of the f to a. So we have a function application inside of the argument part of the body of the first, right? So you got to practice like this. And so how do we, it's like, so where do you plug this thing now? Where do you plug it in? Right? Where do you plug it in? I guess here lambda f dot f lambda x dot x. Oh! Kako je lijepo!
Bilo.
Da.
Ajde opet.
Ajde. Okay. Just one more thing. Okay, wait. Lambda f dot f. Right, f. Now we're going to apply f to lambda x dot x. Ćeš ići na tobogan, onaj veliki. Okay. So now we apply to 4. And lambda f dot f lambda x dot x. Well, I guess lambda f dot f4. Because we substituted 4 with the lambda x dot x. And now we have f4. But maybe you could say now, what do we apply here to 4? Yeah, what do we apply here to 4 now? And yeah, so anyway, you know what? After this self-apply and apply and the identity, now he introduces nested function applications that take out a single argument from 2. Ej!
Keta.
Super, ajde još jednom da te vidim.
Ima neku jaju. Onako ti neko lovi iz toga na ovdje.
A joj, ja sam premali za ovo gore. Mene će... Ja sam bulban, ja ću te čekati. Evo, samo da završim zadatak.
Ti si velik.
Evo, ok, sad ću završiti zadatak pa ću ti se pridružiti. Ok? Ajde.
Ovdje.
Evo, još samo minutu da završim, ok? Okay, I'll just say I will just do this and I will join him. So, after the identity self-apply and the apply, he does the nested function application that takes one argument from two, which is the bool, actually, right? So you kind of build up much more appreciation and understanding when you get to the bools, which kind of makes sense at first, but not really, right? When you do all of this and you do bools, and then he will do the pairs. So the nested function application that creates a pair from its two arguments, right? So that's about it now from this, lambdas. I'm having really great fun with this because this is really, I think this is crucial really to understand how the things move once you get to more, more. But basically that's functional programming, right? And it's so nice. There's something very nice and pure about this, and especially because you're kind of talking about relations between things. So even though it seems like you're not working with something concrete, you are understanding relations, and it's all about interdependence between everything. So Lambda calculus is basically like the machine code of functional programming. Isn't that amazing? So it's not just ones and zeros. These are the ones and zeros. It's just a function. And you learn how they connect, what kind of structures you can do with them. And it's not just some kind of ad hoc kind of a thing, but it's very, very beautiful. Yeah. All right. Bye-bye. I think it will be great. Next time I'll do lambda calculus on sand with a stick. And it's so nice here, right? So like this. We're going to be doing on sand like this. Will this work? No, it won't work. This is horrible. Wait, maybe like with a smaller stick? Wait a second. Lambda x dot x. No, this is horrible. Well, I tried. It won't work. But it's pretty, right? Well, I'll just bring pen and paper, yeah.